All right, I am so happy to welcome back to Justice Southbury. Please give her a minute to set up and switch the electronics. Please give a warm Justice Southbury welcome and return to Lisa Antrum.
I prepared a couple of words, but I'm also going to speak from the heart. I stand here before you today on the strong shoulders of my ancestors. I stand here before you as a direct descendant of slaves. I stand before you as the proud daughter of immigrant parents from Trinidad and Tobago. I stand before you as a proud American. My great maternal grandfather, Norman McNeil, was born into slavery on July 3rd, 1821. After a life of subsidized feeding, where labor was exchanged for mere food and shelter, against all odds, he went on to immerse himself in education, and after emancipation, devoted his life to educating newly freed slaves. My great paternal grandfather had endured slavery in the Caribbean island of Martinique in the village of St. Francois. My grandmother never really talked about it because her mother never spoke about it. My maternal grandfather was born on a plantation in Virginia. His parents were slaves. In order to buy his home in Brooklyn, New York, he had to get a letter from an upstanding white man to prove that he was capable of owning a home. So before I continue, I just want to read an excerpt from my uncle's book that to me describes some of the things that I always feel when I think about slavery and what they went through. So my uncle and my dad are both Vietnam veterans, and my uncle wrote a memoir, and they were stationed in Fort Rucker, Alabama in the 60s for basic training. And he talks about an instance where him and my dad went to this dance. Now, coming from Trinidad and Tobago, they're used to all kinds of cultures just getting along. Segregation was something that was extremely new to them, and they didn't understand it. And it wasn't until they saw one song being played, and the white people got on the dance floor, and then James Brown being played, and the black people got on the dance floor, they understood that they were at a segregated event, which made them feel uncomfortable, of course, and they left. They went and they talked to some of their fellow black soldiers who actually lived in Alabama, and they described what it was like to see your strong father groveling to people while they try to rape your mother in front of you. They talked about actually seeing people lynched and what that was like. So I just want to read a quick excerpt. Bear with me. In 2026, a single milepost in a journey that began centuries ago when millions of African American people were first captured and shipped in chains to the U.S. to be sold as lowest cost producers of the goods that would help to transform America into a rich and powerful country. Starting from a position of zero power, with a status in many ways that of draft animals, people that may have neglected or mistreated their mules, but they did not despise them or derive pleasure from killing them. How did the African American people survive, persevere, and progress to their current status of diminished citizenship in the white society that grew fat not only from the wealth produced of the ancestors of today's African Americans, but also by stealing all of their wages for hundreds of years, completely cut off from their social, cultural, and religious support systems? How were generations of black people able to hold on to their sanity and move on with their lives? What gave them hope? What invisible strength sustained them through such overwhelming adversity? Over time, I developed a deep admiration for the resilience, perseverance, and dignity of African American society in the face of intolerable insult and abuse at the hand of their tormentors. And I read that because to this day, when I go to the South or I go to Florida and I see the swamplands, I think about what it must have been like for people to want their freedom so desperately that they were willing to run away and get in those waters with God knows what was in there, being chased by dogs, and still just wanting the basic freedom to be able to think and do as they please. So what is Juneteenth about? I honestly had no idea. I remember when the holiday first was announced, I was going to say I'm ashamed to say, but I'm not ashamed because you just don't know what you don't know, right? But my daughter, she said something, my oldest daughter, she said something to me about Juneteenth. I'm like, what the hell is that? Is that some kind of slang for something? And she explained to me what it was. And we were taught that the Civil War ended basically when Lee surrendered to Grant in the Appomattox Courthouse in 1865. But that's simply not true because the Confederate Army had lots of armies. It really didn't come to an end. So the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1865. Make sure I'm doing my math right, yes. No, 1862. It wasn't until 2.5 years later when General Gordon Granger issued the Order Number 3 to free the slaves in Galveston, Texas. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So like what Rick was talking about, laws that are passed on the books don't necessarily change a lot. You have to have people that care. People like an organization like Justice Southbury. People that take the time every single Sunday to be here through rain, snow, sleet, heat, anything. People that are non-white that took it upon themselves just to let people know that hate has no home here in Southbury. And that really means a lot to me. And also, as a mother of an adult gay woman, it means a lot to be here for Pride Month as well. And I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I remember when my daughter first told me that she was gay, my first instinct was, are you sure? Do you want to just try, boys? And I didn't, looking back, I guess that came across as judgmental, but it was really just my curiosity because I didn't understand. Now I do. And we talk about it all the time, but I do fear for her safety because she talks about when she's out with her girlfriend and they're holding hands, she can feel the way that people look at her, and she expresses fear, which scares me to death. So my hope for Juneteenth and going forward is that our society can find a way to keep coming together like this, and we can have equality for everyone, no matter what the color of your skin, no matter who you decide to love, no matter what. At the end of the day, we are all Americans.